Hi guys, this is Harsh Baldava and today we are going to perform a leverage buyout modeling in Excel. So stay tuned. Okay guys, so for the purpose of this video, I strongly recommend that you download the file which is mentioned in the description because when we build a leverage buyout model, it's really huge and each cell is linked to one another. So for the purpose of keeping this video short, I won't be able to explain each and every formula, and that's why I recommend you to please download the file, the link for which is in the description, and follow along with me for to be able to understand this model. Okay, so without wasting any more time, let's get started. Today we'll be performing the LBO modeling of Chalet Hotels Limited. This is a publicly listed company. It's a hotel group, and basically, what is a leverage buyout? It's nothing but you create a separate entity which is usually known as a special purpose entity, and you employ a lot of debt. Typically the debt to equity ratio is 90 is to 10, and you buy another company, a company which is in distress, and you streamline its operations, improve the efficiency, and then you exit it at a higher share price than that you have bought at. Now, what's the advantage of it? Again, leverage. Leverage magnifies your returns as well as magnifies your losses. So that is what that is basic overview of what LBO is about. However, will topic of this video is LBO modeling. So just let's dive into that. As you can see over here, the company is Chalet Hotels. The current share price now. One assumption I've made here is there's no such thing known as coronavirus, and nothing has happened and everything's fine. So we'll be going back to 2020, and the share price as on 31st March 2020 for Chalet Hotels was 147.8. Because due to coronavirus there were financial results which were outliers. Basically companies posted zero revenues, so we'll be not considering the year of 2021 for that purpose, and will start from 31st March 2020. So the share price as on that date was 147.8, and typically in a leverage buyout model you have to pay a premium. So the premium is 30%, and the acquisition price will be nothing but 147.8 into 30% plus 147.8, which gives you 192.14. And this is the fully diluted shares outstanding. So if you multiply them both, you get the equity purchase price, and this is the total debt as on 31st March 2020, which you can find in the balance sheet of the company, as well as I have mentioned it over here in this file itself, the historical financials. You can refer to the file, and so you need to calculate the enterprise value, which is nothing but the market value of equity plus the total debt minus the cash. Okay, there you get the enterprise value. Now we have to calculate something known as the EV by EBITDA multiple, which is nothing but the enterprise value by the EBITDA figure. Now what is the EBITDA figure? Again, you can find it in the key financial statements for the year of 2020, which is nothing but 364.51, and the EBITDA is 542 5472.7 so you just divide them and you get the answer as 15. Okay, so that's the EBITDA EV to EBITDA multiple. Then what we need to do right now is calculate how much leverage actual actually to employ in order to execute this. So we'll be preparing something known as a statement known as sources and uses of funds. On the left hand side, you get the equity value as 3936. Again, I've linked it to this value, so that's why I recommend please download the file, because each cell is linked to one another. And the debt repaid, okay, this is a use of fund. So the equity value, okay, you have to pay off the existing debt as on the balance sheet. The advisory fees is nothing but basically 1% of the equity value. Okay, and the debt raising fees. I'll come back to this. And the minimum cash balance. Minimum cash balance, we want to assume that we want to maintain a minimum cash balance of 50 crores for each year in the balance sheet. Okay, now what will be our sources of funds? The existing balance sheet cash which we'll be getting is 127 crores, and the additional debt raised is 4374 crores. Now how did I get this figure? Okay, so in order to know that, let's go to the key assumptions tab. Now, I strongly recommend to please refer to the file in order to understand these formulas. But to fast forward, we have assumed that our leverage will be composed of these structures, a term loan A, a term loan B, and bonds. So the leverage, the total amount of leverage is decided basically by a multiple, which is nothing but the it is a multiple of the EBITDA. So 3 times EBITDA. This is nothing but the 3 times EBITDA. So what is the EBITDA for the year 2020? You need to refer to that and just multiply it with this. So the EBITDA for the year 2020 is uh, 364 364.51 into 3. Okay, so you'll be getting this figure. And again, term loan B, we are assuming a multiple of 4. So 4 into again the EBITDA of 2020, you'll be getting this figure. So okay, and I have employed the choose function over here. Just refer to the file and you'll understand, because we need to present different cases. uh, I have used the choose function. So supposingly if you change this to 2, the figures change respectively. Okay, so I'll put it 1 for now. And that's how we decide how much leverage to employ. And this is the annual amortization, meaning that this much amount has to be paid every year. Okay, this is basically it's mandatory. And here's the interest rate for all of them. And this is the maturity: 31st March 2025, 27, 28. Again, you can assume these are assume anything, these are all imaginary figures. And this is the advisory fees, debt raising fees. Now everything's linked, so again refer to the file for it. And the entry year is 1st April 2020. Exit year, we are assuming it as 5 years further, which is nothing but 31st March 2025. And let's go back to the sources and uses of funds. So additional debt raise 4374, which is nothing but the total of these three. You will get 4374 by that. And so what will be the equity from the sponsor? The equity from the sponsor will be nothing but the balancing figure. Okay, you add all of them, subtract the existing cash balance and the debt raised, so you get the equity from sponsor. Now you need to calculate the goodwill. So equity purchase paid is nothing but 3936.27. And the existing shareholders equity, which is nothing but the book value of equity as on 31st March 2020, is 1554.3. Existing goodwill is also present on the balance sheet. As you can see over here in these key financial statements, goodwill is present as 22 crores over here. So the new goodwill will be nothing but the equity purchase price paid minus the existing shareholders equity and plus the existing goodwill. So you'll get the amount as 2404. uh, Now what we have to do is create the new balance sheet. For the adjustments we have to make, this the cash is 127 crores, but the new amount of cash is 50 crores. As we have seen in sources and uses of funds, we have to keep a minimum cash balance of 50 crores. So the adjustment made will be 77 crores, right? You have to subtract 77 crores. There's no adjustment to be made in any other items. In goodwill, again the new goodwill comes to 2404 crores, so the adjustment of 2382 crores will have to be made. And considering debt, again account I mean borrowings, which is not this is the existing borrowing. and the new amount of borrowing was 4374, as we saw in sources and uses of funds over here. So the adjustment which has to be made is this. And then we have the shareholders equity. Now how did we get this 1448? Simply what you have to do is equity from the sponsor, you have to subtract 131.22 and 50, and I sorry, you have to subtract the advisory fees and the debt raising fees from the equity from sponsor. Okay, as these are expenses which will obviously reduce your equity amount. So that comes to 405 crores you have to subtract from this, and you get the answer as 1148 crores. Okay, so how the sponsors will make money in this deal, as we have got the EV to EBITDA multiple as 15. Now, in order to increase the enterprise value, what they'll have to do is increase the EBITDA. Because we are keeping this as constant, the only way to increase the enterprise value will be to increase the earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, or the EBITDA. Okay, so let's go on to the forecasted financials. And as you can see over here, these are the historical ones. A represents actual, E represents estimated. We have estimated the financials for the next 5 years. The growth rate, I have assumed it at 7%. Why? Because the CAGR of the historical financials over here, I got it at 7.2%. Again, this is completely based on personal judgment, so you can assume any growth rate you like, and it doesn't matter, because ultimately the aim of this video is to make you understand how this model actually works. And then just multiply 981 with this forecasted growth rate, and you get all the values. Okay, I'm not diving into that. Again, for the EBITDA purpose, you need to calculate the EBITDA margin, which is nothing but EBITDA divided by revenue. And just you need to assume, let's say, uh, simply just assume an average, and nothing else. Like what I have done over here is, uh, because the leverage buyout is intended to, you know, improve the efficiency of the enterprise. So I assume that the EBITDA margin will improve by 0.0025. Okay, meaning 0.25%. Okay, so just I've added 0.25% to every year, and I've got these figures. Now simply multiply 37.4% into the revenue, and you get this figure. Okay, similarly, depreciation and amortization, I've considered it as a percentage of revenue, and I forecasted it. Similarly goes for, again, EBIT. EBIT is nothing but EBITDA minus the depreciation, and you get all these figures. And then you can calculate the EBIT margin as well. Now, the net interest expense, I'll come back to it in a little while. And there you get the profit before tax, and you pay taxes. Now I've taken an effective rate of 12.3%. Now what is the effective rate? The actual income tax expense paid during the year, okay, divided by the profit after before tax. Okay, so that will be the effective rate. The basically the marginal rate is 25%, but the company does not actually pay 25% of taxes, right? It may not, it may use various kinds of, tax strategies and employ tax experts to reduce its tax bills. So the effective rate is assumed is at 12.3%. I've assumed the same for the future years as well. Now to calculate the cash flow statement. Okay, so let's go on to the cash flow statement now. And we have, first thing is the net income, which we have linked from above here itself. And then we have to add the depreciation, amortization, and then subtract the investment in working capital. So I have created a working capital schedule over here, and I have used the formulas of number of days receivables, number of days inventories, and number of days payables. These are the historical figures. Now, to forecast the future working capital requirements, you can use this formula, which is nothing but just divide 25 by the revenue into 365. I mean, sorry, just divide the 55 crores divided by 795 into 365, and you get the answer as 25. So similarly, do it for inventories. Divide 311 crores divided by 795 into 365, and do the same for payables. Now there's another method of calculating number of days inventories and number of days payables. Usually for number of days inventories, you divide it by the cost of goods sold instead of the revenue. But dividing it by the revenue is also fine, it's accepted in the industry. And for number of days payables, you usually divide it by the purchases, but we have considered revenue in this case, so we have divided by revenue, and it's perfectly acceptable, it's fine. So just calculate them for all the years. And to forecast the number of days receivables, take the average of these three, and just keep it constant for the remaining years as well. And what you can do simply now is just multiply 19 by the revenue and divide it by 365 to get the forward figures for receivables, inventories, and accounts payable. And simply then calculate the change in working capital. If there's an increase in receivables, again it is a cash outflow, so we'll have to subtract. And increase in inventories is also a cash outflow, but the increase in payables is a cash inflow, so we need to add it. So just calculate the overall change in the working capital and just paste the same over here, so you get the cash flow from operating activities. And now we have to subtract the capex, the capital expenditure. Now I've considered this as a percentage of revenue. So for the year of March 2020, the capex was 36.75 crores, and as a percentage of revenue it came to 3.75%. I've assumed a 5% rate for future years for capex. Again, it's completely dependent on your personal judgment, you can assume any rate you like, but for the sake of this company, 5% seemed like a good rate, so I took that. And I just multiplied it by the, again, the revenue, and to get the figure of 52 crores and 56 crores and so on. Now finally we have the cash available for the debt repayment, the debt which we had taken to execute this leverage buyout. Okay, so now coming to the debt amortization schedule, this is the most important part of the model, so please pay attention over here. The opening cash balance is 50 crores. How did we get this 50 crores? We had assumed that we wanted to maintain a minimum balance of 50 crores. Okay, so now this cash balance cannot be used to repay the debt. Okay, it cannot be used to repay the debt because we wanted to maintain a minimum cash balance. It's like an emergency fund, we wanted to maintain 50 crores at all times. Okay, so we need to subtract this from the cash available. Now, what was the cash generated during the year? It is 37 crores, and the mandatory debt repayment is 422 crores. So, the cash available for prepayment is a negative 385 crores. Now, let's go slow over here. First of all, let's understand how did we get the mandatory debt repayment. This thing, first of all, one more thing to note over here is the cash available for debt repayment is after paying the interest obligations as well. Okay, we have accounted for that already over here. See, net, 1 minute, net interest expense. Okay, so we have accounted for it already. So this is the excess cash which is available with us for debt repayment. We can use it as we like, we can use it to repay off the debt as well. Now, but the mandatory debt repayment is 422 crores. Okay, and the cash available with us is 37 crores. Now how do we finance this? Before seeing how we finance this, first we'll see how did we get the mandatory repayment. The term loan A has an opening balance of 1093 crores, which we have linked it to the key assumptions, or this cell. Okay, C9 over here. Now, what is the mandatory amortization rate? Again, we have linked it over here. to 20%, meaning this amount this much 20% of 1093 crores has to be paid every year. So just multiply it by 20%. Now look at this formula. It says the minimum of 20% into 1093 crores, or the opening balance, which is nothing but 1093 crores. To make sense of this formula, understand that when the opening balance, let's say the opening balance was 50 crores over here, and the mandatory repayment is 218 crores. How will you pay 218 crores when the balance itself is 50 crores, right? The remaining loan that you have to pay is 50 crores, so obviously you are going to pay 50 crores. Why will you pay 218 crores, right? So the mandatory repayment cannot be more than the outstanding loan itself. So that's why we have taken the minimum of the amortization or the opening balance. Now voluntary repayment, now understand this as well. The formula is the minimum of the cell D52, which is cash available for term loan A, and the sum of these both. Because first of all, you don't have any cash for the mandatory repayment as well, right? Over here we can see mandatory debt repayment, it's negative, right? So why will you have cash to voluntary repay the remaining amount? Okay, so we are in shortage of cash, and I'll tell you how we finance that shortage as well. So there's no cash remaining. If there was any, we would have taken that to repay the debt early. As you can see over here, it's zero, right? So I'll tell you how did we calculate this as well. And again, do the same thing for term loan B. Apply the same formulas which we had applied in term loan A, and then over here, for in case of bonds, as they are maturing in 31st March 2028, what we need to do is put basically mandatory repayments will be zero, because it's a bullet payment, right? You have to make payments at the end of the year. So you can simply type in these formulas. It's very understandable, it's self-explanatory, and what you have to do is just pay the interest costs, okay? And yeah, I forgot to tell you about the interest costs. So in this case, the interest rate is 5%. Again, we have linked it to the assumptions, key assumptions over here. The interest rate comes at 5%. And for the sake of simplicity, what I've done over here is I have taken the average of the two, and I have multiplied it by 5% to get the interest cost. Okay, similarly for this one, I've taken the average of the two and I've multiplied it by 5% to get the interest cost. Similar for term loan B and for bonds as well. Now let's come back over here. Again, the mandatory debt repayment, this is nothing but the sum of D56 plus D68 plus D80. Now what is D56? D56 is this one, okay? And then you have D68, which is this one. So just add both of them, and because there's no mandatory repayment for bonds, right? So it's nothing but 204 crores plus 218 crores, which comes to 422 crores. Okay, similarly do it for all the years. As you can see over here, the cash available, basically we are in negative 385 crores. We are not even able to fulfill the mandatory debt repayment. Now how will we finance this? Now there's something known as a revolver facility, where you can withdraw cash as per your needs and continuously pay interest on that. So this 385 crores will be financed by this revolver facility. See over here, addition repayment, right? So we'll be taking an addition, means we'll be taking in funds. So this is an addition of 385 crores because we want to finance this. See, this is the minimum of D42 comma D45. Okay, so as we don't have any opening balance, there was no revolver facility in the balance sheet, so we directly took this one, and we financed it with the help of revolver facility. So the closing balance will be the opening balance of next year. Similarly, finance this with 355 crores, And what you have to do in a revolver facility is keep paying interest on the outstanding amount. Now for the sake of simplicity, again I have taken the average. So over here I have taken the average of these two and multiplied it by 5% to get the interest on the revolver facility. I've assumed the interest rate as 5%. Okay, so simply we are financing all of these with the help of this revolver facility. Okay, now because of that itself we do not have any cash available to repay the loan early, right? Because we don't have any cash available for the mandatory debt repayment itself, why will we have any cash left to repay the loan early? Okay, that is out of question. And we have calculated the interest costs for all of them. So these interest costs will be added over here itself. What is this? Now you might encounter an error. uh, I'll tell you how to solve this. It's a circular reference error. So first of all, you have to calculate the total interest cost. How do you calculate the total interest cost? Add this plus this, and again we go up, plus 49 crores, and finally plus 9 crores. Okay, cool. And you have to link this to this cell. Okay, but you'll get an error. So to solve this error, just type in this simple formula. If L15 is equal to 1, okay, then the value, the if true, will be D92. D92 is nothing but 276 crores. Okay, or else it will be 0. Now why I'm telling you to do this, because if you directly link it to D92, it shows an error related to circular referencing. So if you do this, no error will be shown. Or you can, what you can do else is just copy paste this. Okay, just copy paste the values over here. Don't paste the formula, paste the value. Okay, so that's how you get the interest payments. Okay guys, so the total debt will be nothing but just calculate the total of uh, 385 crores here, again 874 crores over here, and 1253 crores over here, and 1822 crores over here. Okay, it's nothing but the closing balances for all the estimated years, okay, in the future. And now what we have to do is we have to make a new balance sheet, a forecast of the balance sheet. 1 minute, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this will be the forecast of the balance sheet. These are the uh, this I've linked it from the new balance sheet tab, which we had calculated earlier. And the forecast will be nothing but the cash. It will be related to mainly cash and receivables and inventory, basically those items which we have forecasted, and the others we have assumed it to be constant. Okay, and the goodwill will remain constant. So to calculate the cash and cash equivalents, simply I have linked it to the forecasted financials tab over here, the closing balance of cash as we have calculated. And again the receivables have been linked from the working capital changes from over here. Similarly goes for the inventories. The things which we have not forecasted, I've assumed it to be the same itself. For the net property, plant and equipment, what you can do is just simply to the current figure, which is 2279 crores, add the capital expenditure. Okay, what's the capital expenditure which we have estimated? Just a minute. Okay, so this is the capital expenditure, right? So simply add this capital expenditure and subtract the depreciation. Okay, so that's how you get the capital expenditure. I'll repeat it. Add 52 crores to 2279 crores, and then subtract the depreciation. Okay, here's the depreciation. Fine. That's how you'll get the net property, plant and equipment, and goodwill remains the same. Loans remain the same. And again, for accounts payable, you can refer to the working capital schedule. Other current liabilities will remain the same. Provisions will remain the same. Current tax liabilities will remain the same. Current borrowings will remain the same. Borrowings, again, this is the total debt amount which we had calculated in the forecasted financials itself. This is the total debt, just link it, and you get the total debt as well. And shareholders equity is nothing but just the balancing amount. You can calculate it. And now let's go on to calculate the exit price. Okay, we'll go ahead and calculate the exit price. How did we get this enterprise value of 8015 crores? As we had decided to exit at a multiple of 15, just multiply this 15 with the forecasted financials. The year we will be exiting in is March 2025. So the EBITDA in that year is 534 crores. 534 crores into 15 will get you this figure. And the cash and cash equivalents, as we had a minimum cash balance, is 50 crores. The total debt is 3870 crores. How did we get this total debt? We had calculated this in the balance sheet forecast over here. 1 minute. Yeah, over here, as you can see. Okay, this is the total debt. And to calculate the equity for which they will be selling the company, simply just add the cash to the enterprise value and subtract the debt, and you'll get this figure. Okay, so they purchased the company at 3936 crores, and they sold it for 4195 crores. To calculate the IRR, simply put on the dates over here, the values, and you can calculate the IRR by using the XIRR formula. It will come at 26%. Again, I'm telling you to refer to the file and you'll understand all the formulas. If not, please mention it in the comment section. I will be very happy to help you. And to calculate, one more thing is you need to calculate the IRR sensitivity as well. I'll show you how to calculate that. Okay, so just prepare a data table. Okay, and assume the premium paid as plus 5% minus 5%, and in case of exit multiple plus 0.5 and minus 0.5, and you can calculate the IRR sensitivity table as well. You can use the data table formula which is there over here in what if analysis data table formula, and you can get all the values. Please remember that when you are when you are applying the data table formula, the row input value must be this one. Okay, you need to link it to this. Okay, and the column input value must be this. Okay, please take care of this fact, otherwise you will not be able to perform this operation. Every cell has to be linked properly in order to get this model to function dynamically. uh, yeah, so that's it. That's how you'll calculate the IRR. I hope you understood everything, and if not, please just mention it in the comment section and I'll be very happy to help. Now, part where people get confused is with respect to this mandatory debt repayment. Understand that this forms the principal repayment. Okay, so you cannot account for this in the income statement. The income statement only accounts for the interest repayments, which are these. And these mandatory debt repayments, they have to be paid out of the free cash. Now, as we do not have that much amount of cash, that's why we are financing it with the revolver facility, and the interest that we pay on the revolver facility will be accounted for in the income statement as the interest expense. Now I hope you understood what I've explained till now, and I would strongly advise you to go through the model, especially understand how various cells are linked, because even a small mistake can lead to huge calculation errors. You have to make sure that the model is dynamic so that the users who interact with this have a good experience, and the Excel doesn't crash, while they are viewing the model. So if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, and do post any doubts related to the model in the comment section, and I will be happy to help. Thank you.